Hey everybody, it's your boy Dr. L. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I wanted to drop a video. Been a while, been a minute. I'm a busy guy. Forgive me for not dropping videos on a more consistent basis. However, came across this video today and it was so shocking to me that I thought I needed to do and say something about it. Now, let me give all the necessary caveats. It's a video on YouTube. There's more to the story. Certainly a 30-second or 1 minute clip is not going to give us the full extent of the story. And again, there's so much fake items out there. You don't know what's real and what's fake and all that. I'm taking this on face value that it is real, that it actually occurred, and what the clipping of this is accurate as it is portrayed. But if not, then certainly we can learn something from it. So I came across this clip in which this judge, as we can see, and I'll enlarge it here, this judge makes the comment that that there is a lack of probable cause for this particular case. And you can see that the title here underneath, or the words here say, Judge Fleischer gets angry after finding out why this black man was arrested and immediately does some other stuff, right? All right, so we'll play the video and then we'll talk about it.
Watch how Judge Fleischer warns this illegal immigrant with DW.
That's not what I wanted.
And that's the basis of arrest? Good morning, Mr. McLean. Sir, you're charged with interference to the duties of a public servant. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you.
Yes, sir. An officer initiated a traffic stop in Harris County, Texas, after observing the defendant exceed a speed limit of 45 miles per hour and make unsafe lane changes. The defendant did not have his driver's license, but told the officer his name and date of birth. While the officer was running the defendant's name, he observed the defendant exit his vehicle, and the officer told the defendant to get back inside the vehicle. And the defendant responded, "Do I have to?" The officer exited the vehicle and attempted to detain the defendant. The defendant tensed up and locked his arms.
Everything is conclusory. What has he done wrong? What?
It was the initial lane changes, unsafe lane changes, and the exceeding the speed limit that prompted the stop. And then at that point, he was just
stop. How exceeding speed limit? How fast was he going? I mean,
I spoke to the officer this morning, who told me that he was pacing the defendant at 54 miles per hour.
Okay, in a what?
I'm sorry?
In a what? I mean, if it's on 610, he's fine, right? And then he's interference duties. What is he interfering with? What did he do wrong?
I think it was after the stop was initiated, the officer was running the plates. The defendant stepped out of his vehicle. The officer told him to get back in the vehicle. The defendant said, "Do I have to?" The officer told me that.
And that's the basis of arrest?
see how it
Can I speak, please?
Don't. Are you losing?
Oh, sir.
Okay.
And Your Honor, furthermore, as he was attempting to detain him, he locked his arms and tensed up. So as he was attempting to detain him, following that incident of him telling him to get back in the vehicle. And it was that.
That's the basis for arrest.
It was just a temporary detention. He was just attempting to detain him while he was trying to
What's he
investigate.
doing wrong? What's he doing wrong?
65.
No, I don't think so. Mm-mm. We can find no probable cause. No, it's just, he gets out of the car and then it just the virtue of fact, him getting out in the car is interfering with the duties. Really? No, just when you get into, just be careful out there, man.
Yes,
Life is hard as it is.
Yes,
When you get into, gotta be careful, man.
Yes, sir.
People always have to get you. Be nice. It's not hard. Things will go well for you,
Too.
Look, I got it. I'm with you, okay? Just hang tight with me for a second, okay? All right. And that's the basis of arrest? Good morning.
All right, so we're gonna walk through this slowly here, and so that's what it is. All right, so let's go over some definitions here. Actually, let me stop here. So I want to go over some definitions here. So first, I stopped the screen there, right? We're going to go over to the Penal Code for Texas. This is Harris County, Texas. And I believe that's Houston. I'm not from Texas, but I'm pretty sure it's Houston, Texas. So we're going to go over here and we're going to take a look at what the state of Texas says about this. You can't see the top of the screen here. I do apologize for that. But I typed in this is statutes.capitol.texas.gov documents. And this is Penal Code Title 8, Offenses Against the Public Administration, Chapter 38, Obstruction Governmental Operation. And it was 38.15. So I got to drop down here to 38.15. Now, here's interesting. I'm seeing this as I'm scrolling down here. This is 38.13. Hindering proceedings by disorderly conduct. A person commits an offense if he intentionally hinders an official proceeding by noise of violent or tumultuous behavior or disturbance. So that's an action about doing something, right? I just want to take a look at that for a quick second here to see if somebody was in this judge's courtroom, would he allow him to be arrested for that? I'm just curious about that. If you haven't decided yet, I'm going to be against this judge here. Now, I've not been in law school. He obviously knows vastly more than I. To be a judge, you've had to be a lawyer for a long time, and I guess there's other methods out there. And I am not sure if Texas, you have to vote their judges in, or how that works. Certainly the more liberal the constituents, the more that they want liberal, I should say, liberal ideas and application of the law. And all that. So here it is, 38.15. Interference with public duties. A person commits an offense if the person with criminal negligence, that's another, I don't want to make this overly complicated, but in other words, right, you should have, and there's different mental states or mens rea in order for persons to be able to commit a crime. And you have to know what you're doing, right? Knowingly, willingly, negligence, things along those lines, right? So you should have known that your he should have known, disrupts, right? Remember, we took a look at the 38.13, the criminal proceedings, impedes or otherwise interferes with a peace officer while the peace officer is performing a duty or exercising authority imposed or granted by law. A person who is employed by the Public Emergency Services, a firefighter, animal under the supervision of a police officer, right? There's canine dogs, rescue dogs, etc. The transmission of communications over citizen band radio, the purpose of which communication is to inform or inquire about an emergency. Right. So if you got a citizen's band radio, you start chiming into the pocket, start chiming into to headquarters and interrupting what they got going on. An officer with the responsibility for animal control. Again, that's an animal having responsibility assessing and acting in public health, environmental radiation or safety measures or state municipality, etc. Water code, and on. Then you can continue reading through all these different ideas here. It is a defense to the prosecution. It is a defense to prosecution under subsection A1 that the conduct engaged in by the defendant was intended to warn a person or operating a motor vehicle in the presence of a police officer who was enforcing subtitle C, Title 7 Transportation Code, right? So that's giving warnings. Maybe, you're trying to help people, but it comes off in the wrong way to the officer. All right, so that's what that is. So let's take a look at this and let's break this down slowly as we'll be able to listen to it, right? Okay, so he's telling them what his charges are. That we just read the statute. You can't hear it. You can't see that. Okay, my apologies here. Right, so you just heard it. I'll rewind it here. Stop screen share. Present. Share screen. All right, here we go.
Up to 6 months in jail and or $2,000 fine.
Okay,
and that's the basis of arrest? Good morning, Mr. McLean. Sir, you're charged with interference to the duties of a public servant. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent.
So probable cause, what that means is that this the judge and the court system takes a look and determines whether the officers acted with any acted correctly. In other words, did the officer um were the actions of the officer reasonable and justified given the statute and the law, and et cetera, et cetera. So probable cause, right? There's different levels to when an officer can take someone into arrest. Um, First is or detention, I should say. Reasonable suspicion, right? That means there's kind of hairs sticking up on the back of an officer's neck, saying, there's something just not quite right about this neighborhood, about this person, about this car that's parked. Whatever's going on, based on their training and experience, there's something that just isn't correct about this particular person. That's reasonable suspicion. That means that an officer can just walk up to someone and just start asking them questions and all that. So in order to stop them, stop their freedom of movement, stop them from driving a car, stop them from walking on the street, stop you from walking a dog, stop you when you exit a restaurant or store, anything like that, they have to have some level of reasonable suspicion. They can come up to you and ask you questions at any time, but if there's something that in order to stop and impede your freedom of movement, they need that. Now, above reasonable suspicion, above that would be probable cause. Probable cause is roughly defined as, that the crime has been committed and the person has committed that particular crime. Yeah, the officer has reasonable suspicion, and above that, a little bit more certainty based on their investigation, training, and experience. Investigation, they looked into some things, asked some questions, interviewed some witnesses, looked at some video, and determined that this person committed this crime, that a crime was committed, number one, and number two, that this person actually committed the crime. Okay, so that's what this is going on here. So we got a motor vehicle stop. So the officer's asking, so excuse me, the judge is asking, what is the probable cause for this person to have committed this, or to be arrested, to be handcuffed, taken away, his freedom and his freedom and his liberty has been suspended, and we're going to take this person and to make him answer for his crimes and bring him into court. So the judge is incredulous. He doesn't believe what he's hearing. Like, why is this person? What is this that this person has done? Again, taking this as at face value that this is the complete summation of the actual events as they unfolded in courts. I've already been through that. Okay, so let's continue on with that.
Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you.
Yes, sir. An officer initiated a traffic stop in Harris County, Texas, after observing the defendant exceed a speed limit of 45 miles per hour.
Okay, so he's going down 45 miles. Exceed the speed limit of 45 miles an hour. We're going to hear the judge say in what he's saying is, what was the speed limit? Is he going 45 and a 35? Is he going 45 and a 40? Is it going 45 and a 25? What is the basis of the crime here, right? Or the initial stop, because in order to get to the arrest, you have to determine that the initial stop was legal and justified. So what was the initial reason for the stop, right? So there's a progression here that has to go on. The first thing we want to make sure is that the stop was legal. So that needs to be identified.
And make unsafe lane changes. The defendant
So he did that, and he made an unsafe lane change. Either he was swerving like crazy, or simply he failed to signal. One of those two. So he's got two things: driving apparently too fast for the speed limit, and number two is that he made an unsafe lane change and either caused distress or whatever, right? So I think what the judge here is trying to get to the idea of pretext stops, stop, and he's going to say this is it's very hard to hear, but he's going to say doing what, doing this while black. That's what he's trying to address here. And listen, I get it. I get it. We have a high incarceration rate. African Americans definitely have been targeted by police. I'm not unaware of that. I'm not. I certainly get that. And I applaud anyone who is trying to rectify this. The United States is 4% of the world's population and 20% of its incarcerated population. Certainly, we have an incarceration problem when our 4% of the world's population and compare that to 20% of those who are incarcerated. So, and how many of those are obviously black males who are just targeted because they think that we have an inherent level of criminality? So this judge and anyone else who is trying to fight against that, trying to keep people out of the system, trying to shrink the incarceral state, I'm all for it. Believe me, I get it.
And did not have his driver's license, but told the officer his name and date of birth.
So we got three things. So now he's made some kind of illegal change, driving in excess of the speed limit. We're not sure about that. And then we got this person who's supposed to have his license on you. You're supposed to have your license with you, and he doesn't have it. So now the officer's got to write down his name and then go back to his car and then run his name or call it in on the radio or however else it's going to be done. I apologize.
And that's the basis.
And the defendant responded, "Do I have to?" The officer entered the vehicle, and the officer told the defendant to get back inside the vehicle. And the defendant responded, "Do I have to?"
So the person jumps out the car. Now here is how officers are trained in order to do their jobs, right? It is true that we spend a lot of time in the police academy reviewing videotapes and when officers unfortunately are attacked and at times lose their life. And there's this idea of control. This idea of control is that the officer has to maintain some semblance of control when and if they're on a motor vehicle stop. So in other words, if there's a stop and somebody just jumps out the car, you're losing control, right? So get back in the car. Somebody doesn't want to get out of the car, or somebody doesn't want to abide by your rules. You generally the officers will tell them to do the opposite. They want to get out of the car, you tell them to stay in there because you don't want to be an attack planned. Sometimes people want to stay in the car, and you want to get them out of the car because possibly they have weapons in the car, and they and you want to get them away from that. You want to disable them or disabuse them or control them, however the officer sees the best way to do that. So this person refuses to get out of the car, right? Excuse me, refuses to get back into the car.
The officer exited the vehicle and attempted to detain the defendant.
So now imagine yourself as this police officer, right? So you've got a person who's in your mind now has committed 3 types of infraction. He doesn't have his license registration, excuse me, he doesn't have his license on him. You got to write down his name. You don't know his name. Okay, he could be lying to you about his name, right? He could be an axe murderer. You have no idea who this person is, right? Doesn't have a government issued ID. Second of all, he's already made some infractions. He's driven over the speed limit apparently, and he has made some kind of erratic lane change and or simply failed to signal, depending on how the law is written there in Texas. Okay, so those are 3 things that he's got going for him. Now you're sitting in your car, right? You're back at your modal data terminal, typing in information. You see this guy get out the car. Why is he getting out of the car? Again, police officers are trained that this could be an ambush, right? This person is not listening. We've all seen the videos. You can see hundreds of videos on YouTube about people being attacked by when they're out in the street. So, or on motor vehicle stops. So you want to control the situation. Get back in the car, right? Because this person is obviously, and we're also trained that the plotting and the planning comes at this particular phase. Now the officer's distracted. Now you're starting to run his name. The mindset of a criminal, not saying that this man was one, but the mindset of a criminal is that this is the time that they're going to attack. This, I have a warrant. I'm a wanted person. I'm an illegal immigrant. Whatever it is, this is where we're at. So now I know this as a police officer because my training and experience and my academy professors and my field training officer and all these different updates I get tell me all the time that this is when I'm most likely to be attacked. This person jumps out the car. Sir, get back in the car. Right now, I got to stop what I'm doing. Remember what we talked about, disrupting. We talked about that. I can't put two screenshots up at the same time. StreamYard needs to work on that. But I can't put them up. But otherwise, I would show you that it's disrupting the legal functions of what the police officer should be doing. Now I can't do my job. I can't run this stuff because this person has jumped out the vehicle. So keep this in mind. Imagine yourself as an officer. You want to go home to your kids. You want to go home to your wife. You want to go home to your girlfriend. You got plans, and you don't know this person. You don't know them.
The defendant tensed up and locked his arms.
Okay, so he tensed up and locked his arm. Depending how different policies and procedures are written and definitions are given, that is a form of resistance. Now he is resisting. He is resisting. Let me take this down and bring you back to present, screen share, present. I should have taken a screenshot of this. Share screen, penal code. So let's go back to the penal code here. Let's go back to the penal code here, right? 13.15. Here we go. granted, right? A person commits an offense, criminal negligence interrupts. Was this officer interrupted in what he was doing? I would say so. Did he disrupt what they were doing? I would say so. Impedes or otherwise interferes with. Now, depending on how this is, it's going to depend on how their policies and procedures are written about the application of the use of force. And sometimes those applications of the use of force in their policies and procedures would say tensing, fighting, verbal language, all these type of things, which would lead to a level of what we call resisting arrest and this interference type of thing. The officer was performing their duty and exercising authority imposed or law by, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So this is what we're all looking at. Now, this is going to come down to something that's obviously outside of my scope of knowledge, or excuse me, outside of my pay grade. Let me just say it like that. However, I'm talking about the safety and safety of police officers, and we want people to become police officers. We want them to enter in this line of duty. We want them to make good decisions on the side of the road. We want them to actually pull over people and not become hindered because there's going to be some activist judge who is going to try. And I actually appreciate an activist judge who's trying to make sure that we're not targeting and incarcerating African American men in particular. I certainly applaud that. But we also want African American men to become police officers, and we want them to be safe. We want all upstanding citizens to become police officers. And if we want them to enter into that line of work, we have to do a number of different things. Number one is pay them well. Officers' pay is fairly decent depending on where you live. You have to train them well, and you have to support them when they actually do the right thing. And you have to protect them, and you protect them through the laws and tell them that there are certain things that they can do and certain things that they can't do. So here this officer has received training and experience. He's watched videotapes. He's gone through the academy. He's talked to his FTOs. He's heard the locker room talks. He's watched all these different things. And now here's some judge saying, what's the issue with this? Because he's standing outside of his vehicle? Yes, Mr. Judge. Yes. People who stand outside their vehicles are planning and plotting to hurt people. Hurt officers. They're going to run away. They're going to drive away. They're going to get outside and start shooting individuals, start shooting at the police. And if we don't take a proper stance and supportive role in supporting the police officers as they do their duties that we are paying them to do, and take control of situations, we're going to have people just willy-nilly get out in the car or getting in the car, getting out of the car, refusing to show hands, refusing to do all this other type of thing that we consider to be essential to the safety of the police officers. And then the next thing you know, we're going to have an uptick in violence against police officers because they are going to be scared to act, cautious in what they're going to do, and therefore we're going to have an uptick in all that. So that is the presentation I want to give you today. I'm very disappointed in what this judge is doing. So, well, listen to this.
Everything is conclusory. What has he done wrong?
Well, again, this is about taking control of the scene and the safety, right? This is a potentially dangerous situation. Once again, right? He's standing on the side of the road. There's cars driving by. What if this person is suffering from some mental instability? Again, we don't know who this person is. What if he or she is suffering from some mental breakdown and hearing voices and delusion? Get back in the car so you don't get hit by another car on this highway or on this roadway, right? This is the context that we have to address this. I don't know if this is a 1-minute clip. I don't know if this was addressed or this was appealed in a court of law, but this clip as it is presented, if true, is very concerning, and all members of law enforcement should be concerned about this type of situation.
What?
It was the initial lane changes, unsafe lane changes, and the exceeding the speed limit that prompted the stop. And then at that point, he was just
Stop. How exceeding speed limit? How fast was he going? I mean,
I spoke to the officer this morning, who told me that he was
Officer
taking the defendant.
If they thought it was going to go here, the officer should have been here. I mean, but generally they're not for probable cause hearings because overtime would just kill them. So,
54 miles per hour.
okay, in a what?
In a what meaning? In a what zone?
I'm sorry?
In a what? I mean, if it's on 610, he's fine, right? And then he's interference duties. What is he interfering with?
He's interfering with his abilities to do the job as described, running the license plate, running the person's name, trying to figure out if this person is wanted. Now, he can't do that feelings of safety, security, and satisfaction, because his attention will now be divided. And if you take this away, if this court case stands, and I don't know where this is going or has gone or how old this is, I don't know any of that. However, if this case, if this is allowed to stand and officers no longer can forcefully, yes, you have to use that word, forcefully take control of the situation for their own safety, for the safety of other pedestrians who may be in the area, for the safety of other vehicular traffic that may be in the area. If we can't allow police officers to do their job, then we are going to be in a heap of trouble.
What did he do wrong?
I think it was after the stop was initiated, the officer was running the plates, the defendant stepped out of his vehicle, the officer told him to get back in the vehicle, the defendant said, do I have to? The officer told me that.
And that's the basis of arrest?
You see how it was.
There's obviously a break there, some kind of edit right there.
Your Honor.
Please don't. Are you losing?
No, sir.
Okay.
And Your Honor, furthermore, as he was attempting to detain him, he locked his arms and tensed up. So as he was attempting to detain him, following that incident of him telling him to get back in the vehicle. And it was
That's the basis for arrest.
It was
clearly this judge just doesn't get it. He thinks that everybody is soft and sweet and everybody's nice and kind and all that. And that's just not the real world that we live in. I get it that he may live, and I'm sure that he's seen bad people in his career who come into his courtroom, who he's either been a prosecutor or defense or whatever he's done, or read the newspaper. He has certainly seen that. And you have, to refuse to take into account the officer's training and experience, and saying that just because he's standing on the side of the road tensing up his arm should not be arrested. Well, then we are undergirding, and undergirding is the wrong word. We are undermining the entire structure of civility and the ability for police officers to do their job without the penalty of consequences. We can just drive down the street with no license. We can switch lanes. We can just drive over the speed limit. And then when the officer comes up to us and asks for our license registration, we can flip them off and say, do I have to show you this and this and that? And jump out the car, not listen, and say, do I have to do it? There's no decorum. There's no respectability. And next thing you know, if they're doing it on the street, won't they do it in your place of business, Mr. Judge? Won't they do that there? And I mean this with all due respect. That's why the first thing I read was, would you allow this to go into your courtroom? I think not. I think not. But we're supposed to allow that on the side of the road where people can get hit by cars, where now there's an argument on the side of the road, people got to switch lanes and swerve over and all this type of stuff. Is that really what we want for our society?
He was just a temporary
Talking about
detention. He was just attempting to detain him while he was trying to
That's all black.
He was just a temporary
Talking about
detention. He was just attempting to detain him while he was trying to
What's he
investigate.
doing wrong? What's he doing wrong?
65.
No, I don't think so. You can find no probable cause.
All right, so that's that. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions, right? So let's read through some. I'll make this a little bit bigger here, so we can read through some of the comments here, because a lot of people actually agree with this sentiment here. And this is when the police stop showing up and they're driving slow and not obeying you and things along those lines, then it's going to be an issue, right? When the police are when their power has been taken away. I get it. Judge Fleischer has once again given the right judgment. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts on screen. Are you losing? Someone who has been harassed and arrested in Harris County, this literally made my day. I'm glad to see that this judge is in Houston. Didn't bend to my authority. Do you need a lawyer? Let's see. I watch this judge all the time. Love to see fair judges without chips on their shoulders. Ironically, I'm going to remember that I can say something. Are you losing? I appreciate him not letting him speak. Judge, are you losing? This is all about him losing, huh? Love this judge. That last comment of "be careful, man" was heartfelt. I had a judge tell cops don't lie Tell me cops don't lie. I was held for contempt for laughing at that statement. Yeah. Officers should be held accountable for false arrest now. Yeah, okay. Can we please get more judges like this? For what? Walking while black? The judge knew that exactly what was going on here. Yeah. I have been in law enforcement over 27 years, and we absolutely need more judges like this. I've been in law enforcement for 27 years, and we need more judges like this. Wow. Okay. Okay. This is from I guess. I love this judge. Huh. Obviously, that person hasn't. I don't know who this guy is, but he hasn't pulled a lot of people over. Obviously, people tend to tense up when grabbed. All the cop had to do was say yes. You have to get back in the car. Again, this is a clip, but because the guy dared to ask, he took the challenge and arrested him. So ridiculous. Well, so that's that. So I'm not going to make this any longer. Let me know your thoughts, your opinion. Am I wrong? Is the judge wrong? I'm coming from this from the safety aspect of the public and the officers, the officer and what they are deciding and what they're thinking at the time. They don't know this person. The person has already committed a number of interactions, and the more interactions we build a case within our mind, the more infractions, I should say. I said interactions, more infractions that come up, right? You're already driving over the speed limit. You're lane switching. You are you don't have your license when I have no clue who you are. You could be a wanted axe murderer. I don't know who you are. You could be suffering some mental break. I don't know why you're jumping out the car. I got to keep safety. Where police officers are charged with keeping the peace as well as the safety. And listen again. Let me say it for the last time. I get it that there has been a lot of or far too much targeting of African American males and throwing them into prison for no reason. I am not disputing any of that type of thing. So I applaud anyone from any legal profession, police officers, corrections officers, and judges who want to do the right thing by all citizens. Absolutely, 100%. But this just wasn't it. If again, given what we saw, let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Hit me in the comment section. Much love and peace.